Good morning. Yesterday we talked about these shapes. That's not a great one, but that is a parallelogram. And specifically we talked about how to find the area of a parallelogram in case we needed to cover that with a tablecloth, if we needed to figure out how much paper it would take to cover the entire top of it, things like that. To find the area of a parallelogram, we do base times the height. And the height has to have a right angle. So usually the height was a separate line shown like that. Well, today we're going to talk about a different shape. And we're going to talk about a trapezoid. Now, how is a trapezoid different from a parallelogram? Well, when I look at that trapezoid, it's only got one set of parallel lines. We talked about that in class, and so I just want to remind you of that. Parallel lines. Okay, this is live teaching right there. Okay, one set of parallel lines. So this line is parallel to this one. This line and this line are not parallel. If I kept those extending, eventually they would totally come to a point and cross. All right, so we're going to want to make sure we can figure out which lines are parallel. Now, in order to find the area of a trapezoid, we're going to have to think back to the parallelogram. If I take my trapezoid and I could just use a little bit of math magic and have a second congruent. Those aren't quite congruent, but it's pretty close. All right, so if we had two trapezoids put together make a parallelogram. And I could use my parallelogram formula to find the area of that. Now, because there's two, I wouldn't want to use all of that to be the area of the trapezoid because there's two. So basically, I'm going to cut it in half. Just right there. And then I would have the area of a parallelogram. So my formula for that, for my trapezoid, looks like this. 1/2, because I'm going to cut it in half, of a big base plus a little base times the height. All right, so in this strategy, we're going to cut it in half. And this is a big base, one of those parallel lines. And this is a little base. And with the right angle, it would be my height. So the big base and the little base have to be of the parallel lines. So if they give me this or this, I'm not going to use that because those on my trapezoid wouldn't be the parallel parts. Okay, so we don't want to use those. We want to use the base. And then the height has to be with the right angle. Okay, so again, I'm looking for that little square to tell me that that's a right angle. Okay, we're going to try a couple practice problems now. Okay, in our book, we're on page IN59, and that's at the very back of the book. I attached a picture to our e-learning lesson today, so I hope that will help. But the first one I have written down is number 3, and it has 21, 8, and 9 listed. So the first step I'm going to do is always write down the formula. Area equals 1/2 the big base plus the little base times the height. Now, I'm not going to draw another trapezoid so that I can use the parallelogram formula. I can figure this out using this formula. First step is to substitute the numbers we know. I'm going to keep 1/2. The big base, looking for those parallel lines again, is going to be 21. It's okay that that's up in the air, that it's upside down compared to a normal trapezoid. That's okay. The little base, my other parallel line, is going to be 9. And the height, looking for that right angle, is going to be 8. Bada bing, bada boom. Now I just need to do some math. The first thing I'm going to do is the parentheses. The parentheses always says, do this part first. Okay, so if I add 21 plus 9, I'm going to get 30. And I want to show every step. The multiplication I can do in any order. So can I take half of 30 or 8 pretty easily? I like 8. So I'm going to take 30, and what would half of 8 be? 4. Okay, last step. 30 times 4 is 120. Now, if I didn't know that, I could use this space over here and just do 30 times 4, solve that really quickly. Same with 21 plus 9. You don't have to do those steps in your head. You've got space over here, use this space, not a problem. The last thing I need is a label. I know from my chart it's centimeters, and because it's area, it's going to be centimeters squared. Okay. Now, going on to one that's a little bit more challenging. I want to try this one down here. This is number 10 on the page. First step, always write the formula. Area equals 1/2 big base plus little base times the height. And now I'm ready to substitute my numbers. I'm going to keep the 1/2. Now let's take a look at this. What do I know and what can I put in there? I always tell my kids sometimes the height is the easiest one. Can you see the height on this one? Looking for that right angle. It's right here. There's the right angle, so my height is 5. The next thing, I'm going to be looking for my big base and my little base. And I'm going to be using the parallel lines. And so for this problem, this line and this line are parallel. Okay? Looking down here, I see a 3 and a 3. Would that be the total length of my big base? No. They labeled it underneath. My big base is 10. I see it, it has a label. Now, in order to find this top one, they don't give that to me right off the bat, do they? Well, I know that this one is 10. And if I cut off this 3, then that would give me part of this. That would give me 7. Do you think my little base is 7? Oh, you're right. We need to cut off the 3 on this side too. So 3 plus 3 is 6. What's this middle section going to be? This is going to be a 4. Because 3 plus 4 plus 3 equals 10. So if this part's a 4, then this part's going to be a 4. I thought that was going to be really tricky there for a minute, but we figured it out. Good job. All right. So now I'm ready to do some math. The first step, do this part first. Don't forget. 10 plus 4 is 14. Half times 14 times 5. Well, can I do half of 5? Half of 5 is a little tricky. I don't really want to do that, but I can do half of 14. So now I've got A is equal to half of 14 is 7. 7 times 5. A is equal to 35. I need a label on here. I have yards. I'm going to go ahead and put my yards here. I know because it's area, it's going to be yards squared. Okay, I have one more problem for us to do, and then I will let you work on your assignments. This is number 4. It is at the top of the page, and I liked this one because this trapezoid is a little up and down. It's not our typical, but I'm going to solve it the same way. Start by writing the formula. Always start with the formula. A is equal to 1/2 the big base plus the little base times the height. All right, looking at this one, let's substitute our numbers. I'm going to keep 1/2. The big base, I'm looking for those parallel lines. So I know that it's going to be this side, and that one says 12. I'm good with that. This one is 6. Well, that doesn't cover the whole base. How am I going to find the whole base? Because I want it to go from the 6 all the way down here. 6. If this side is 12, then this side has to be 12. So what would our whole side be? Oh, you're saying that our whole side there would be 18? I think you're right. So we've got 18 plus 12 times 8. And I know 8 because of that right angle. All right. First thing, we're going to do that middle section that says do this part first. 18 and 12. I'm going to add that up. That, my friends, is 30. Now, if I was going to do half of, I could do half of 30 or I could do half of 8. I'm going to go ahead and do half of 8. Half of 8 is 4, so now I've got 30 times 4. Area is equal to 120, and this is meters squared. Okay. Reasons kids get these wrong. They kind of screw up right here. In the middle, you are adding the 2 bases, and all the rest of it's multiplying, so sometimes they multiply there, and they've screwed that up. So make sure that you write your formula and pay attention to your operations. Other reasons kids screw this up, trying to figure out the right lengths. So again, use some common sense. If the 6 is written just above that dotted line there, it's only talking about that section. It's not talking about the whole length. If it is talking about the whole length, they will tend to put the line underneath it. And we should show this as this line, and it shows from the top to the bottom is 18. Okay, it should look like that. All right, if you have any questions, please email me and I will try to help. But remember that I'm expecting you to ask a question. I don't get this isn't a question. Let me know where you're having problems. Are you understanding the formula? Can you find the parallel lines? Can you find the height? What can you do, and where are you having trouble? Okay, make sure that you have a specific question so that I can help you. If you get confused, watch the video again. Not a problem. Have a great day, and I'll see you online.